Next category of shortest job first is the when I'm going to implement it in the primitive mode. The second name, very important name we are having, is the SRT, which stands for shortest remaining time. Now simply I am taking the scenario of when all the processes arrives at different time interval. Okay, let's start. So we are having in the scenario four processes. All the processes arrives at different time interval, that is 0, 1 to 4, and the burst time is given to us. So directly we will jump to the Gantt chart. So we will see first of all, now this is a primitive mode. It means if any of the process has got the CPU, if any other process comes, so we will take back the CPU from that ongoing process. So this is the strategy of the primitive process. So let's start directly by solving this numerical. So before that checking the shortest job, we have to see whether that particular process has made the request at that time or no. I mean to say whether that process has arrived at that time or no. Okay, so now first of all, let's compare the burst time now. As you can see from the table, the burst time out of all the four processes, P4 is having the least burst time. But see, you can see through the table, the arrival time of P4 is 4 time interval. So it means we cannot allocate the CPU to P4 process. So to whom we are going to allocate the CPU? So it means we will allocate the CPU to that process who has arrived. So who has arrived at that particular time? That is P1. Because I told you the Gantt chart always start from 0 time interval. So at 0 time interval, which process arrives? That is P1. So it means we will allocate the CPU to P1 process. Okay, okay. We will allocate the CPU to P1 process. So in the Gantt chart, I have labeled this from 0 to 1. One time interval only we will move throughout the Gantt chart. From 0 to 1, we allocated the CPU to P1 process. So when I'm reaching at this particular one time interval, now you can see P2 was another process who has arrived. Who has arrived. So how much time interval this P1 has moved? That is one time interval. So I am simply to make you people clear, I am writing it as 4 because one time interval it has executed. So okay. So at one time interval now we can see P2 has arrived. So I'm having two processes with me, P1 and P2. Now I will compare the burst time of both the processes. I mean to say P1 and P2. So but now we can see that P2 is the process who is having the least burst time as compared to the P1. It means we will be allocating the CPU to P2 process. So now I'm going to label it in the Gantt chart that CPU has been allocated to P2 process. Again, I told you one pulse only we will move from 1 to 2. I am allocating the CPU to P2 process. So now you can again see when I am reaching at pulse 2, P3 also got activated. With that, I am labeling it that one pulse I have executed with the P2 process. So now you can see I got three processes, that is P1, P2 and P3, which are currently you can say got activated. Now again we will compare the burst time now to whom we are going to allocate the CPU. Now P1 is having the burst time remaining is 4, P2 is having 2 and again P3 is having 4. So it means to whom we are going to allocate the CPU who is having the least execution time or least burst time. So it means according to the scenario now we will be allocating the CPU to P2 process. And now you can see that we will be executing the P2 process completely. So I was left with 2. So it means that up to 2 plus 2 is equal to 0. Oh, sorry, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So I will make over here 0 because we have done complete execution of this particular process. I'm crossing it also Now I'm not going to see this P2 process again and again. Okay. So when I'm reaching at 4 time interval, now you can see that another new process, that is P4 process, has arrived now. So it means that I'm having now P1 with me with 4 burst time, P3 as well as P4. Now to which process I'm going to allocate the CPU? Very simple, that is P4, because it is having the burst time lesser as compared to the other remaining processes. So it means that I will be allocating the CPU to P4 process. And what is the burst time of P4 process? That is 1. So it will be executed completely. So I'm again crossing it. So from 4 plus 1, that is equal to 5. So it means that CPU will be allocated to P4 process for 1 time interval. So last I'm having is remaining with two processes, that is P1 and P3. So again you can see that both the processes are having the same burst time. So again, if you are having the such kind of scenario, so we have to follow the strategy of the FCFS, which says that whosoever comes in the table first, we will be allocating the CPU to that particular process. So who came first? That is P1 process. So we'll be allocating the CPU to P1 process. So now P1 will be executing completely. So remaining time was 4. So it means 5 plus 4, as we can see in the Gantt chart, 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. Now we can cross this P1 because we have done the complete execution of P1 process. So last I'm having is the P3 process. So obviously it is the remaining process. So it will be executed completely. What is the burst time? That is 4. So 9 plus 4 is equal to 13. So we have done with all the processes now. So let's calculate the completion time from this Gantt chart only. Let me remove first of all these values because this was for your reference only. Okay, let's start with the completion time. So what is the completion time of P1, which means that when P1 is actually releasing the CPU. So now you can see that P1 is actually releasing the CPU at 9 time interval. So the value will be 9 over here. So the second I'm having is the P2 process. So now when P2 is actually releasing this CPU, that is at 4. Through from the Gantt chart only we are looking all these values. So 4 value will come at this place. So next we are having is the P3 process. Now when P3 is actually releasing the CPU, that is 13. So from the Gantt chart we can see last I'm having is a P4. Now when P4 is releasing the CPU, that is at 5. Yes. So 5 value will be I will be writing over here. So next is we are going to calculate the turnaround time. So turnaround time, the formula is same. So how we are going to calculate the turnaround time? The formula, I'm going to recall that formula. The formula is completion time minus arrival time. Yes, very good. So let's start now doing the calculation. So what is the completion time of P1? That is 9 minus arrival time. Arrival is 0. So 9 is equal to 9 minus 0 is equal to 9. So in the same way, you can calculate all the values. So 4 minus 1, that is equal to 3, and that is 13 minus 2 is equal to 11, and the last one is 5 minus 4 is equal to 1. Yes, very good. Next we are having is the waiting time. So again, I will show you that formula. What is waiting time? That is turnaround time minus burst time. So turnaround time we have just calculated and burst time is already given in the question. So that is 9 minus 5, that is equal to 4. Then is 3 minus 3, that is equal to 0. Then 11 minus 4, that is equal to 7. And the last we are having is 1 minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay. Another parameter we are having is the response time. So it is very much clear from the last numerical also that how we are going to calculate the response time. The formula is The very first time the process has actually got the CPU minus arrival time. So if we are talking about the P1 process, so from the Gantt chart we can see that actually when this P1 has got the CPU, that is at 0 time interval. What is the arrival time of P1 process? That is 0. That is 0 minus 0 is equal to 0. Okay, for the P2 again we can check through the Gantt chart, from the Gantt chart. So when actually P2 got the CPU, that is at 1 time interval. So what is the arrival time? That is 1. So 1 minus 1 is equal to 0. Similarly for P3, that is when P3 actually got the CPU at 9. So 9, so what is the arrival time? That is 2. So 9 minus 2 is equal to 7. Similarly, the last value we can calculate is equal to 0. That is 5 P4, when actually P4 got the CPU, that is equal to 4 minus, what is the arrival time? That is 4. 4 minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, so I hope all the values are very much clear to you. So now we can calculate the average waiting time, average turnaround time, as well as average response time. So the formula is same for all the parameters, that is adding all the process values divided by number of processes. So all these values you can get very easily from the table. So because we have calculated the waiting time also, turnaround time also, and the response time also. Simply you have to divide by 4 and get all the values. So I hope you got the concept of shortest job first in both the modes, that is primitive as well as non-primitive. Thank you so much.